What's up, everybody? It's Brandon from Box Office Banner and Cult Flick Symposium, and the Guardians of the Galaxy reviews march onward. I'm here to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This one seems like a little bit more of a mixed bag. I think most people primarily like it, but unlike the first one that seems to just have unreal positivity across the board, this one I do see some naysayers. And I think a lot of that has to do with the lack of story. But hear me out. Tying back into the first one, where you even kind of heard me, or not even kind of, like I pretty much like, the plot, about that plot. Um, every MCU plot is pretty much the same. It's pretty cut and dry. So it's more about the characters that make this work. Usually story is very, very important. Movie like this, I'm more here for the characters than I am the story. And honestly, the absence of an overarching story in the beginning, like we're pushing towards something, whereas in this one, it's kind of like an empty story and then it kind of turns into something at the end, is honestly oddly a strong point for me. I know I'm very alone on that, but I think it's a good thing. So, much like I said in my review when we did the MCU reviews, when I'm watching this movie, it oddly doesn't affect me as much as it does other people, and even more odd, it makes it more enjoyable. Yes, I said it. The formulaic, same fucking plot with a different device, same cookie cutter villain thing that MCU does, I didn't miss, the like, this is where it starts and the middle will kind of be predictable with like, oh, they're getting into the mix about this, and then the ending. I didn't need it. I was cool with the hangout, getting to know the guys all over again, seeing that the chemistry was still there, and then at the end being like, oh shit, they're dropping us on our heads a little bit. That made this movie even better to me. Yes, I know, hot takes. Characters, everybody, just as good to me. Star-Lord maybe a step back a little bit. I mean, he was still solid. I don't even want to say step back. It's just, I don't know. Like, when it kicked off with Star-Lord, the initial, oh shit, Chris Pratt's in the MCU movie, that kind of waned and wore off. But while it didn't really have the same effect for me, or he didn't really, I guess I should say, have the same effect for me in the early going, he still was good. And then by the end of it, when all the twisty turnies happened, even if it was kind of predictable because we're like, something has to happen and who all's here to cause it, got to be something with that, right? Talking about Kurt Russell, his dad. We'll get to that in a second. Once all that happened and then everything with Yondu, it really kind of tied his character together to where he was about as good. But the magic was a little bit lost, I think, just a teensy weensy bit, just because of how much just awe factor, I think, of the first one, just having Chris Pratt as a lead. I think losing that somehow did actually impact it a little bit on a second viewing, but he still was solid. Gamora, same thing, character arcs kind of getting solved with, oh my God, what is her name? Nebula. I almost said Nemesis, and then I couldn't make my way back to it. I'm like, it's an any something. Nebula, everything that transpired with her. Because even I said in the first one, like, you could tell, like, it's not flat out hate, even though they're trying to kill each other. That kind of came front and center in this movie. So the character arcs with them was fun. I've seen a lot of people talk shit on Drax. Like, now, like, he was just kind of the dumb guy. Now he's having fun at the expense of people. He is, yes, but I don't take it in a malicious way. It's just that it makes it like kind of ironically funny to me even more because he can do that, but he also doesn't have the intent, I think, of hurting anyone. It just goes back to the first one. He's just a literal kind of person. When he says you're ugly, he's taking it like where he's from is just like, hey, you're ugly. You don't hold that back. You don't look at it as some like thing where it's just like, oh, we're about to square up. Now you call me ugly. It's just like, you're ugly. Hey, my name's Drax. Like, that's like, you're hideous to look at. Like, that's what makes it funny. If it was a thing where they just pass that on to him and you're just like, man, ill intent, like they butchered a character, yes, that messes it up. But when I'm, at least on my end, hearing the lines, I don't take it as ill intent. It's actually a funny turn because it's like, dude, the way he just rips into people, and much like how he was in the first one, but in a different way, is just completely oblivious to the damage he's causing, makes it all the more better for it. And Drax is honestly possibly better in this one. He extends on what makes that character so much better, or so good, and makes it probably even better. Again, rareness here. Not a lot of people say that. You talk about Groot. It's a tough one, man. The first one, especially with the "We Are Groot," that's one of my favorite scenes in the whole franchise. I don't even think I brought that up in my whole like 20-minute review I did yesterday, but the "We Are Groot," obviously, and the just Groot, what that we got introduced to. We're gonna have some nostalgia love there for that. But Baby Groot is so fucking cute, dude. So awesome. So just dope. Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong. Like, it's one of those things, like, it's hit or miss. You can pick either one, but that cuteness he comes with, that might elevate him. And Rocket's about the same. I really enjoy the moments Rocket has with Yondu in this movie, especially when Yondu rips into him and he's like, "Stop it, you don't know him." And he's talking about that whole, because you act like you're tough when really you're the fucking, like, you're essentially this most scared person of the whole crew. And he's like, I know you because you're me. Like, the music kind of dropped. That whole breakthrough, and even like, welcoming Yondu to the Guardians, and Yondu in general, talking about him. He's just, I think I like him a little more in this one because we get to see the relationship with Peter go even further. Like, it's got a great trajectory in terms of like where it kicks off from being like, oh shit, Peter better look out for this guy, to just casually kind of going into full on, damn dude, he loved the shit out of Peter, and then captivating as hell with that climax. Kurt Russell in here. It's a tough one because, again, good villain? No, not necessarily, but in comparison to other villains, he at least is Kurt fucking Russell, so he's got that going for him. Check, ding. I like him a little more off that. So Guardians of the Galaxy, through 2 movies, I'll say underrated villains. Neither are great villains. They're not necessarily particularly good, but they have little things and nuances that make them stand out a little more for me. If you're being a huge action fan of that era, I fucking love Kurt Russell. Love him. Which also, speaking of action, we got, put in the movie a lot, but we got Sylvester Stallone, which means what, people? We got Tango and fucking Cash in an MCU movie. Yeah. Kudos for everybody that's seen Tango and Cash. No kudos for everybody's like, what the fuck is Tango and Cash? You lose. Yeah, you failed me on that one. But just action stars in the MCU, I'm here for it. The fucking turn, man, I was indifferent about it at first with the whole, ego, but Kurt Russell's character. But the thing that makes it work is, again, it's Kurt Russell, so I'm very forgiving, biased here. But also, it is at a point where it's like, yeah, it's not as believable and it didn't work as well, but it's also forgiving because it's like, it's got to go somewhere. So fuck it. Let's see how this goes. Like one of those. Like, I wasn't disappointed with it, or I wasn't really in love with it either. It was fine. It's like, okay, here we go. Now we got some meat on the bone here. And then everything that happened with their fight, it was pretty cool. I enjoyed the ending, I think, more in this one. The first one was more about like the rise up and showing that they could do it. This one was more of, we've been there, and it's more on the whoop ass side of things. So like less like, I guess, emotionally and being charged up with the characters, but I would say more badass action overall, probably. I'd go there. I like the whole little underground having to fucking take out egos. I was gonna say heart, but it was like his brain, so you could finish him off and not have him take over the world. I think overall that worked pretty well, good enough for me. And again, I like the darkness of it. Him just coming flat out of nowhere and just being like, it killed me to put that tumor in her mind. Like, that whole thing was like, what? And I love fucking Chris Pratt. Just shows you how much he loves his mom. He just met his dad, was just uncomfortable with it. There wasn't no, like, even thinking for a second, just like, Dad, what? What's going on, Dad? It was immediately like, you killed my mom. Like, fuck you. Love that about it. I'll say one thing, funny-wise. Dude, when they're having that, like, rise up moment and they're playing the music, One of my favorite scenes, if not my favorite scene. I don't know what it is, but it kills me out every single time. Which that's another character we got in this movie, Mantis. I think Mantis is a really good ad. It kills me out every time. Drax after Manus, because I mean it's like playing like dun 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 like Avengers type music, and out of nowhere a fucking asteroid rock thing just clocks Manus in the head, and like 3 seconds too late, Drax is like, Mantis, look out! I don't know what it is about that, but that always has me damn near rolling on the floor laughing. I try, like, it's one of those things, like, usually second, third time you hear a joke, it's fine. Every time I watch this movie and that scene happens, I die laughing. Drax kills me in this movie. And his play with Mantis, where he's an asshole, yes, it does not ruin it for me. It is pretty fucking great. The stupid villains kind of crack me up with the whole taser face shit and fuck Rocket, just laying it on thick like Rocket does. Again, characters, man, characters. Really power it forward here, and that's what I'm coming to this movie for, first and foremost. It is not story. I thought the opening, we got a better opening here, because that opening, I feel like they had to do something like that because they knew they didn't really have a full-on fleshed out story in this one, so they were just like, let's just whoop some ass in the beginning with a big monster and get to the fucking hangout and then have our little twist-a-roozy at the end, with Kurt Russell. What's not to love? And I gotta tell you, what is not to love? I'm having a good time with it. Always surprised to hear when people are just like, nah, on this one. I think there's a couple of us on the podcast don't like it. Maybe just Tyler. Tyler, I don't think, enjoys this movie, which shocks me, but obviously to each their own. Would have been cool to see Michelle Yeoh with a bigger part. It was always cool seeing her in this, and now she's unlocked everything with Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is really cool. Sylvester Stallone should have just been fucking. They should have their names. It would have been so dope if it was Tango and Cash. Like that was literally their names in the movie. Yeah, I'm gonna circle back to that. Sorry. It's just a huge fit. Huge fit. Would have been fucking dope. Soundtrack again. Music still on point, and that's really where we get this one. I'm gonna come out and say it. It goes above the original for me. It's about on par for the whole movie, but the ending just delivers for me. Everything with Yondu, even the I'm Mary Poppins, y'all, all that stupid shit, makes me smile. And then just seeing him one last time and Rocket now understanding deeply who Yondu is through that conversation, just like, I know you, because I am you, boy. He is now realizing that they are so damn similar, and he never would have thought that. So it even hit Rocket, who was saying it too harder, that Yondu was like, I got to save the day. I know what it entails. I know it sounds crazy, but I've done nothing right in my entire life. Please give me this. And Rocket, in that moment, if they didn't have that conversation, he would not have just, probably has been as willing. He might have been like, Rocket, like, fine. Like, it's your funeral. That type of Rocket. But it was more of like a respect thing, because he knew in that moment where he was like, I can relate to that. And I now know that this blue motherfucker right here is really relatable. And watching Yondu pick up Quill after Quill had to make the necessary move to kill off Ego, his dad, which, even though he's never known him, like, you're killing your father there. Like, that's got to be tough. Watching him say, just like, I mean, not kill him, but the team kills him, and he basically lets him know right before he dies. He's like, please, Quill, like, we could do this. You're denying the universe. Whatever he says exactly verbatim. And he's just like, you'll just be one of the regular people. And he's just like, what's so wrong with that? It's a simple line, but I love it for some reason. Fits Peter perfectly. He doesn't have to be flashy. He doesn't have to be in the front. Maybe he strives to be sometimes, like when he's competing with Thor in a later movie that I'm sure we'll talk about in this channel again at some point. But he, it's the black sheep. It's the background noise. It's the outcast. He's content. He doesn't have to be that. He's content with being a regular person, especially at the expense of saving the world. There is an awesome side to Peter Quill as he was ready to sacrifice himself, and Yondu snatching his ass up last second, taking him up to the heavens where Yondu would soon go. Yeah, Yondu just saying, just like, he may have been your father right after letting your father go. The emotion's already there, but he wasn't your daddy, boy. and watching, Peter just lose it in that moment, realizing Yondu's going to go, was really sad, which also, going back to what I was talking about, is a big culprit of why Gamora and Nebula were able to make up, amongst other things, because at Yondu's funeral, Quill says, I'm guessing what I'm trying to say is like, sometimes you're searching for something and it's right next to your side all along, which is a perfect, speech for, of course, or lesson, speech, anything you want to call it, for Gamora to hear with Nebula and Nebula to hear. Perfect makeup point for them to be cool going forward. And, it's just the ultimate lesson of just like, you really don't know what you got till it's gone. And I think it comes together really nicely. And then it's got that Cat Stevens song, Father and Son, playing him out, and the fireworks and all that. And Gamora kind of, almost finally saying that there's something between her and Star-Lord. She's like, it's a, unspoken truth or whatever she calls it. Because, of course, Star-Lord said something about that earlier in the movie. It's the perfect, icing on the cake, man. I love the ending of this movie. It sets it above the other one. I think I gave the other one an 8.8. It's about 0.2 higher. I have to give Guardians 2 the higher score. Still going to say it. And I got to tell you, when I was rewatching it, I was like, do I want to give Guardians a higher score this time over Guardians 2? There was a part of me, I was like, did it finally flip-flop? But once that ending happened, I was like, nope, can't even do it. Guardians 2. Still my favorite of the two movies. Thank you, guys. I love y'all. 9.0 out of 10. 9.0 out of 10. Are y'all on the same wavelength as me? Or do y'all like the movie? Or do you not like the movie? Are you one of those people just like, there's not enough story in this movie? Are you one of those people? I know I'm making you sound like an idiot. It's just, the over-dramatized things. I don't think you're an idiot. A lot of people think that. I'm probably sounding like the idiot more than most people, because even the ones that like it probably have that gripe with the film. But what do y'all think, man? Like, share, subscribe. Let me know. Damn it. Love hearing from y'all when y'all comment. Y'all need to do it more often, please. I need friends. I need buds. I need somebody to talk to about Guardians of the Galaxy. Volume 2 with. This is Volume 2, right? I know it is. I'm messing with y'all. I need to go to bed. No sleep lately. No sleep for the wicked. Isn't that what they say? Am I fucking wicked? Something I'm going to have to think about. All right, guys. Love you. Peace. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 review will drop soon. Have a blast till then. Let me know y'all's theories.